you're considering AI for your business, one of the fastest ways to build confidence is to understand the engagement model. Who does what gets delivered, what does a timeline look like, and how is success defined? In this video, I'm going to walk you through our model at 80/20 Green, which starts with an AI audit. We prioritize, we build, deploy, optimize, and support. This matters because AI is just not a single tool. It's a capability that's applied through the workflows of your business. And the businesses that get the best outcomes treat AI like an operational improvement program with a clear scope, clear deliverables, and measurable outcomes. Our positioning is AI for what matters most. That means AI can be useful in many areas, but we start with the deployments that deliver the strongest business value first and then expand. So by the end of this video, you'll know exactly what working with 80/20 Green looks like and whether a 15-minute call is a sensible next step for you or not. So many AI conversations start with tools. For example, we want a chatbot for a website. But a focus on tools misses the identifying the real value proposition. It's a bit of a hit and miss approach. It doesn't really focus on what's the most valuable deployment for AI for your business, and starting with the most valuable to get the most value, and then you get increasing returns. So it doesn't take into account also your unique operational practices and constraints. So one thing I've learned from undertaking energy audits, many energy audits, which are very similar to AI audits, and I've undertaken these of many hundreds of facilities, is that they are all different. And that just because a solution is great for one business doesn't mean it's great for another business. Even though from the outside, both businesses may appear to be similar. So a clear engagement model addresses and reduces this uncertainty. You know what you're buying and what you're committing to. You know what outcomes we're targeting and what inputs are needed. And it also prevents the most common source of rework in any program, which is an unclear scope. Now, that's not a failure story, unfortunately. It's a normal project reality. However, when scope and priorities are clear, AI work is usually straightforward. So here's the model step by step. Step one is the AI audit. The audit turns AI sounds interesting to us into a map of opportunities tied to real workflows. So we'll start by mapping the key processes in your business, typically the ones most tied to margin, to throughput or productivity, and to customer experience. For each process, we're going to look at the inputs. Where does information come from? The steps. What happens in what order? What are the handoffs? Where does work move between people and systems? What are the decisions that need to be made? Where does judgment need to be applied? And what are the exceptions? What happens when things don't fit the normal pattern? Then finally, what are the outputs? What done looks like for that particular activity. We'll then produce an opportunity register, which is a structured list of AI and automation opportunities. This register is quite broad by design. We're not trying to prove there are only a few opportunities. We'll capture many opportunities so we can then prioritize intelligently. Step two is prioritization. Once you have opportunities, the question becomes sequencing. Which ones do we do first? And we use a scoring model with 4 dimensions to decide this. So the dimensions are value. What is the impact on the margin, on your time, on your throughput, on service levels? Second criteria is the effort. How much effort is required in terms of integrating this AI workflow, building the complexity of the build, the change management within your organization? And change management is sometimes a tricky issue to deal with. Obviously, those with easier change management or no change management are the easier ones with the lesser effort. Then we look at risk. What is the risk in terms of both handling of information and operational impact in your context? Is it high risk or low risk? Readiness is the last criteria. How stable is this process that we're going to automate? What's the data quality? What's the team buy-in like? So then the output that we provide from this prioritization is a ranked list, a short list of what to do first, and a staged roadmap for what to do next. Importantly, before finalizing this roadmap, and I've learned this from my energy audit experience, is we're going to sit down with you to make sure that you're comfortable with it and adjust it based on your feedback. There's maybe things that we didn't quite get right in the AI audit. Now, this is how you get early wins without limiting broader AI adoption over time. The next step after that is to build. Now, our developers will build the solution based on the audit outputs and prioritization. At this stage, we'll also define the acceptance criteria. That is this credible? Is this going to work? We don't want to just build something clever. We want to actually build something that meets specific conditions. Make sure that it triggers at the right time, it produces outputs in the right format, it handles exceptions appropriately, it escalates to a human when it's needed, and it logs key events for monitoring. So builds will often include workflow automations, AI drafting or classification of information, knowledge retrieval, routing logic, and templates with escalation paths. The emphasis is reliability and measurability. Step 4 is to deploy and test. Deployment is where good work becomes real work, and we want to deploy in a controlled way. So we typically start with a limited scope or a subset of users. We test common scenarios and along with edge cases. We'd confirm that the workflow behaves as intended and ensure that people understand any new handoffs and responsibilities in that process. Now, testing isn't fear-based, it's a standard professional practice, particularly when you're changing operational flows. Step 5 is then to optimise. This can include improving the prompts used by the AI, improving the templates used, tightening any logic, adjusting any thresholds, at which point something may escalate to a human and figure out when that is most appropriate in regards to the risk associated, improving data inputs, and adding measurement and feedback loops. So AI value tends to compound with iteration. Step 6 is the final level, which is support. Support matters because the processes change, staff change, systems update, priorities shift. So you need to have some support for the system. So ongoing support ensures that the AI deployments remain reliable, and they create a pathway to expand into other opportunities identified in the AI audit. So what happens in the 15-minute call that we suggest you take if you're interested in this? So we're just going to keep it practical and ask you some questions like, what type of business are you in? Where do you feel is the most operational friction today? What systems do you rely on? What outcomes matter most? Is it margin, speed, quality, or customer experience? And then we'll recommend the next steps, which will be an AI audit if there seems to be a fit. Or maybe a longer second meeting if we haven't managed to cover it off in the 15 minutes. And if we don't think there is a fit, we aren't going to try to sell you on something that won't work. We'll just tell you that. Now, we'll often share examples of the things that we're going to produce for you, whether they're templates, scoring models, and implementation briefs. So you can see the method and not just hear about it. So if you want a practical AI for what matters most, book the 15-minute call using the link below, and also consider subscribing to this YouTube channel if you want to follow the full series on how we audit, prioritise, deploy, and optimise high-value AI across the business. So what are some typical timelines? While every business differs, here's the practical way to think about it. The audit phase is usually measured in days to a couple of weeks, depending on how many workflows we map and how available your team is and the size of your business. The first build is typically scoped to one single high-value workflow improvement so that we can deliver it quickly and it can be validated in the real world. The deployment following that is in stage. We'll start small, verify, and then expand to other automation. Now, optimization is ongoing and tends to deliver incremental gains after the initial rollout. And what we need from you is also quite straightforward. We need top management support and engagement. This is indispensable. Otherwise, it's not going to work. We need access to both managers and the doers for individual half-hour interviews in this AI audit. So this could be between 4 to 5 people, if you're possible to 15 people, really depending on the size of your business. And then we also need clarity from you on what you want to improve most. Is it your margins? Is it your throughput? Is it your service levels? Is it the amount of time saved? Is it your overall turnover? We also need a nominated internal owner at a senior level in the business who will be responsible for the workflow after it goes live. Now, this internal ownership point is really important. AI improvements are operational improvements. The best results happen when a business has a clear owner and can decide what good looks like and approve iterations and approve the workflow. So what are the deliverables you'll actually see? So you'll see a process map for the workflows that we analyze, or process maps for the different workflows. You'll see an opportunity register, which is a structured list of AI opportunities. You'll see a prioritized shortlist of what to implement first. and then a staged roadmap of that first implementation. Now, implementation briefs for the top priorities will also be provided, including the acceptance criteria. Now, these briefs are what allow a build to move quickly. They reduce ambiguity and prevent the back and forth that slows down most implementation works. So here's a simple example. So imagine you've got a recurring workflow. Inquiries come in, someone triages, prioritizes them, someone schedules, someone follows up. Someone updates the CRM, and someone produces a report. So there's a lot of someones there. So AI can help in many places. The AI audit will map the workflows and identify where time is spent and where handoffs create delay. Prioritization will then select first deployment, for example, an AI-assisted triage, and follow-up that drafts responses, routes the work, creates tasks, and escalates unusual cases to a human. You deploy that, test it, optimize it, and support it. Then you move on to the next opportunity, which may be quote drafting or reporting. So that's AI for what matters most, not limiting the use cases, but rooting capability in the right order. So to recap, the AI audit maps workflows and captures opportunities. Prioritization turns opportunities into a shortlist and a roadmap. Build is guided by acceptance criteria. The deployment is staged and validated. Optimization compounds value over time. And support keeps the results reliable and creates a path to expand. So if you want a quick second set of eyes on where AI can deliver the most value first in your business, book a 15-minute call using the link below.